Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Native News Today. That's Gerald Wofford, and I'm Jason Salzman. We want to thank you guys for being with us for the next 30 minutes. We got a great program covering all the great news going on in and around Indian country. And Gerald, I know you're just as excited as I am to get it started.
Absolutely. Here we are in the middle of May, and we appreciate you joining us here this afternoon on what we hope is a rather cool May afternoon for you. Of course, this Oklahoma weather can kind of go up and down here, but that regardless of it, that you're comfortable this afternoon. We appreciate you joining us here for Native News Today, and as Jason said here, we feel like we got some great stories lined up for you today.
Exactly right, and like you said, you know, better get comfortable because we know you're not going to want to go anywhere. We got lots of great things coming up. Not to give too much away, but we had some big things going on in and around Muskogee Creek Nation this week, and we'll certainly share some of that with you. Lots of big news coming out, and lots of announcements, things like that. Also traveled up north a little bit, our brothers and sisters in Cherokee country, got some big news going on there as far as with their communications, media, networking, things like that, things that pertain to folks like you and I. Right. And so certainly we have an appreciation of those type of news stories. But we are actually going to have an in-studio guest will be our very first thing out of the gate. And I'm really excited about this one because we have, Gerald, I don't know if you know it, in studio, the Oklahoma Indian Woman of the Year. And it's very pertinent to us around here at Creek Nation to be keyed up on this because it is our very own Community Services Director. Now, if you're out there, you may have said, oh, I know what he's talking about, I know what he's talking about. We'll keep you in suspense just a little bit longer, but we wanted to let you know that the Oklahoma Indian Woman of the Year is here in studio, and she will be joining us right after this break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Native News Today.
Since the dawn of the Muskogee Creek Nation, the traditional rhythmic sound of the turtle shells has been the heart of the ceremonial stomp dance. A living legacy passed to each new generation. This tradition, this legacy, this heart, this is the Muskogee Creek Nation of Oklahoma.
All right, joined in studio with Miss Shera Ridge here on Native News Today. Want to thank Miss Ridge for stopping in with us. Certainly been a busy lady, crisscrossing the country in support of our Native women and a lot of different issues. And want to thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. Well, first off, I want to talk to you about a very great honor that you received recently. You were named the Oklahoma Federation of Indian Women's Indian Woman of the Year. Gosh, that's got to be not only humbling, but just such a great honor for you. I know you take to heart such things go on in Indian country, and especially with our Native women and empowering them and things like that. So it's got to be a great thing for you.
It really was. Of course, you have to be nominated and selected by the committee to receive that award and be an active member of the Oklahoma Federation of Indian Women. So one of the ladies said, I want to nominate you for this. You do so much in the community and with your family. And of course, it's humbling just to be nominated and just to see that someone thinks of you in that way. So when she said, I was very thankful for that, and just realizing the work that I do doesn't always go unnoticed, and you don't do that type of work or the type of work that I'm into for accolades or awards or any of things like that. So when someone does and we want to honor you for that, it means a whole lot just again to seem like that someone's actually paying attention to the work that you are doing. Right,
and the OFIW, they do so many things throughout the year, and that's why it is a great thing. So many of our Indian women do these things out of their care and respect for their culture and heritage, just not to get an award or anything like that. But it is nice when things are recognized like that in so many different types of things, not only Woman of the Year, but Student of the Year, things like that, the kids that are doing good in school, and really it's sort of a situation where you can press them on to do greater things through incentives like being recognized.
Definitely, you know, that's part of the award ceremony, and a lot of those awards are actually named for some of the founding members. And for me, it's always about giving back. I really try to look at my community to say, hey, who's doing this type of work? Who's someone we can honor this year that maybe somebody's not looking at? It's not always those out front people, those outspoken people. Sometimes it's those behind the scene people that are making everything happen. And just, again, to recognize their efforts and say, you know, we're paying attention and we appreciate what you're doing, especially for our Indian communities. With me having 4 children, that's what's always in the back of my mind. How can I make a difference for their lives and for their future? And just the way I was raised, I was always taught to, you get out there, don't wait to be asked to do something, don't wait to be told to do something, you just start doing it. And my mother and grandmother, they didn't ever pull me aside and hold me by my collar and say, you're going to do this. They just showed me that through their own actions. And that's what I did, is just get out there and try to see, and if I can see a need, then try to meet that need before someone has to come and ask for help. And that's a lot of what I pride myself on.
Definitely, and hopefully your mother also showed you how to make that fry bread, because she's one of the best in the country. I'm telling you, certified, you know, won some contests and things like that. Debbie Ridge, but definitely, you know, definitely many thanks to her and your grandmother, you know, for instilling that in you, because it's led to a lot of, like you said, work and really just going to bat and advocating for tribal needs. And you know, you had to rush home to get this award because you were in Washington, D.C. advocating for our Native women on a national scale. Folks, everyone out there, you know, if you don't know about VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act, that's being, you know, actually it's being talked about today on the national level, then you've been under a rock, or you haven't been paying attention, because this is something that I think that, you know, on a national level, it's our chance to show these people that our tribes are sovereign, they are absolutely capable of handling themselves and on their lands and with their, as it goes for their people, and acts against their people. And you were in Washington recently to advocate for our Native women on that scale. Talk a little bit about your trip and really what, I guess, a blessing it was for you to be able to go and do that.
It really was a blessing. It's been a long time coming, because obviously when we heard about VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act reauthorization, and the tribal provisions that were being asked for this year, this started back in October, and we came back to our tribe and we said, hey, what can we do? One of the staffers from the National Council Office, and I got with the Family Violence Prevention Office and said, what can we do from our nation perspective to really start trying to bring a voice to this and an awareness to this? So we started doing that with some of the programming and just emails and using the social networks to let people know what's going on. And it's power in numbers. We can't do this alone. We can tell our stories all day long, but to go out and make those phone calls, to call Congress, to call House Representatives, say, hey, this is what's needed. And it came at a fortunate time, too, that a UN representative came to Tulsa, and we reinforced that tribes need to be able to protect its people on tribal lands, or any people. And that's what we have to keep stressing. The crimes that occur on Indian country go unheard of, unsaid, because we don't have jurisdiction over non-natives. Right. Some of the Congress issues where they were unconstitutional, tribes aren't set up to handle these cases, and we are. And it's like, you know, with Muskogee Creek Nation being the 4th largest tribe in the nation, we have to show them and be in the front and center and be in the lead to say, yes, we can handle these cases, and we need to be able to do that to protect our women and our families. So I was invited. They had a House briefing. The Native American Caucus hosted a House briefing. I was invited to come and attend and tell my story and come from a different perspective to be able to talk about programs and how VAWA, actually the funding that comes down through the federal government, helps our people there. One of the other survivors told her story and how she was married to a non-native, and his crime never went punished. I mean, he tried to murder her, and yet that never went on record because it was on tribal land. They couldn't prosecute him, and he was at a point taunting her, calling the police, saying, they can't do anything to me because I'm on tribal land, and he was a non-native. And yet he was picked up for a traffic charge, never charged with domestic violence or attempted murder. That's a reality we live in. It's 2012, and it's very sad to say that, you know, you can go commit a crime anywhere else in the world and be punished for it in any city, county, country, come to Indian country, be non-native, and you could almost just get away with it.
And that's just one example. That's the scary thing, Shera, is that this is probably happening, and is happening on a large scale. There's many, many number of cases like this, to where I don't know if it's a disconnect that they, don't pay attention, but it's time for our Native people to start being heard and being heard in a large way, especially when we're progressing and having our courts intact, definitely ready, our tribal law enforcement, our light horse, up to the task of doing all these things. I mean, is it a disconnect, you think, to where they just don't understand or they just don't want to pay attention?
I think they don't want to pay attention. I mean, it is that disconnect and not realize, and that's why when we were invited to come up there to tell our stories, because they're questioning, are the numbers even real? Is this really even happening? Yet statistics show 1 in 3 Native women will be raped or be sexually assaulted in her lifetime. We have the highest incidence of domestic violence. And those numbers are still very skewed because the reporting is so low, reporting within communities, reporting of how it's reported, and women aren't calling because it's never going to, there's nothing that's being done. Or when they are picked up, the perpetrators are picked up, it's for a totally different crime, not domestic violence. And it's sad to say that, yes, we're first Americans, this is our country, we haven't been anywhere else, and this is happening on our own tribal lands that we can't protect our own. It boils down to human rights and civil rights and just a human issue that we're not being protected equally.
And that's one thing that we're going to, like you said, folks, we're going to have to get on the phone. We're going to have to call our congressmen. We're going to have to call our representatives. That is their job. Their job is to be elected and to listen to their constituents that call them with these concerns. And that's the only way it's going to change. If we all come together, 5 fingers is okay, but when we ball it into a fist, it's much, much more effective. And if you look at what's happening there, we will definitely keep you briefed up on the hearings and whatnot from VAWA as it happens today, actually, and on through the coming weeks. So one thing I do want to talk about with you before we let you go is, you are a former member of the National Council, and I sort of have to get used to that, and I'm sure you do too, saying former, because you have been on the council, and it's just recently that you took another post here at the tribe. But talk about being the head of the Community Services Division and really, from yourself, always being involved in the communities before, it's got to be something for you to really empowers you to do a lot at that level and to really get in there and look and see what we can do better for our communities at the Creek Nation. And having that as your job, it's got to be a wonderful thing.
It really is. I don't think I've stopped running yet since I've got here. This is only week 3 for me, but I'm excited. I mean, it hasn't been an 8-hour job yet. It's been a 13, 18-hour day job, but I love every minute of it because there's so much we can improve upon, so much we can do differently, and really start looking at what we can do in our programs, what we can do differently, or how we can improve upon them, and then service more citizens that we can. Leaving tribal council was a very difficult decision. It wasn't an easy one. I served for 10 years, and when this opportunity presented itself, I had to really pray about it and take that back home and say, how can I serve? And realizing my life circumstances, I still had to work full time and try to do tribal council too. Something was going to have to give, and this new position allows me that opportunity to do what I love to do. My background's in social work, and be here at Muskogee Creek Nation. It's so exciting to be here on campus every day and see what everybody else is, what's going on, and really looking at, we're a government. We're, and a lot of the programs I have are the social programs. But how can we really affect families' lives and make them more self-sufficient so that they're wanting to give back to their government as well? But
and you look at
excited.
Exactly, and you look at around the tribe itself. There's a lot of infusion of youth coming into positions to where we're really empowered and get out there and get those grants and figure out what we need here at Creek Nation to be able to get the resources in. So it's really fulfilling and wonderful to see in that regard, and we wish you nothing but the best, and definitely always great to have you here on the program, and want to thank you for coming in, being in studio with us today.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And again, congratulations to Shera Ridge for being the Oklahoma Indian Woman of the Year. Well, a little closer to home here, Jason, in Okmulgee specifically, the Muskogee Creek Nation was involved with the business acquisition of the local country club here in Okmulgee. This storied and historic place has served many people around Green Country, but specifically the tribe saw this as a great business venture. We went out to the press conference, Principal Chief George Tiger and administration out there announcing the acquisition of the country club.
Good morning. I want to thank you for coming. This indeed is a historic day for Muskogee Creek Nation. I want to extend my appreciation to the Second Chief, to Speaker Alexander, to District Representative from McIntosh District, Adam Jones, who was, as Edmund said, sponsor of legislation that allows us to be here today, and to the entire National Council for their support. The purchase of this property allows for this administration, with the support of the National Council, to seek diversity and economic development for the Muskogee Creek Nation. It's ironic that I stand before you today, as I grew up in the community of Okmulgee, and there's a period of time I wasn't allowed on this property. However, I believe today is a reflection of how far we have come as Muskogee Creek Nation, and how far the communities we share throughout our jurisdiction have come as well. And I believe that says a lot about where we're at today. The Muskogee Creek Nation looks forward in working with communities and sharing resources to improve not only relationships, but collaborate to improve current economic conditions through diversity of job development. And in working together, we feel it's a win-win for everybody. I am pleased to sign this very historic, very important piece of legislation on behalf of the Muskogee Creek people. At this time, I will do that. Once I have completed that task, I will be taking questions. So this time, I will sign this legislation. It's fine.
Well, another administration north of here, as Jason said earlier, the Cherokee Nation signing some important legislation into act. Principal Chief Bill John Baker of the Cherokee Nation signing the Journalism Shield Act, which really is more or less for Native journalists, well, specifically Cherokee journalists, for the freedom of the press. And this story here announcing Bill John Baker signing that into act, and others in his administration telling how important this legal act was.
You know, this is historic from the standpoint that it's going to give protections to our press folks that 40-some states already give press people, but this is in tribal court, and to where they don't have to reveal their sources and for fear of losing their job, and we just hope it strengthens the Free Press Act and takes us another step further to be, you know, more progressive and more open and more honest, and so that you know, folks can get the message out without fear of reprisal.
It's going to impact the lives of many people who rely on the newspaper, the tribal newspaper, for information. This will increase the accountability and the freedom of the newspaper to actually be able to protect the reporters and from any potential political influence that may be impressed upon them by officials in the government, and it'll protect reporters for the future from that sort of thing.
And it builds on what we started with the Independent Press Act in 2000 and followed up with the Freedom of Information Act and shortly after the Independent Press Act, and just continues to strengthen our independent press.
I feel really good about today, because if we are serious about a free press in Indian country and in Cherokee Nation, then we have to work towards that. Cherokee Nation already had a free press law on the books, which has served us well. But what happened today is we improved that. We improved it by extending protections to reporters and, of course, to their sources from being revealed in our courts. This is a privilege from testimony or testifying that is extended in 40 states, including the state of Oklahoma. And today we've made sure that is the case in Cherokee Nation.
All right, moving along, right along with our coverage here, the Muskogee Creek Nation Riverwalk Crossing. Know that everybody out there definitely by now knows that we did purchase that, but it's just sort of a nice backdrop for some of the press conferences and the announcements that we have at Muskogee Creek Nation. So that in mind, this last week, Principal Chief George Tiger and a healthy number of his cabinet members alongside of him, joining him, wanting to announce all the entertainment acts that are going to be coming for this year's 2012 Muskogee Creek Nation Festival. We were sure glad to be there.
Good afternoon. We're going to have to quit meeting like this at this place, I guess, but we're very excited about things going on at Creek Nation. Before I start my comments, I want to make some introductions. First of all, I want to introduce the second chief of the Muskogee Creek Nation, Roger Barnett, and the speaker of our legislature, the National Council, Sam Alexander. Our manager of our tourism and recreation department, Will Lowe, and our manager of our museum. We have a special event as part of our upcoming festival, John Beaver. Thank you very much for coming. We're excited about an upcoming festival, our 30th annual Muskogee Creek Nation Festival. We feel very excited because we're very pleased about the entertainment that we have coming up. We feel like it'll also be a snowball effect, if you will, for what we want to do here at the Riverwalk with upcoming festivals and what have you. As you know, the purpose of our Creek Nation Festival was to allow for our tribal members throughout the country to come home and celebrate our traditions and culture. When it first started out, we didn't know as to what kind of response we would get. For 38 years, we've had many of our tribal members come home, actually scheduled their vacations around this time of the year, and also it allows for the city of Okmulgee to be spotlighted, and in a way that we always felt like that certainly is our capital city. But from that, we want to also do some things here at Riverwalk, and as we go throughout the summer, we'll be holding some special events here as well. I want to recognize as well the unofficial mayor of Riverwalk, J.D. Colbert. J.D. was instrumental in the negotiations of the Riverwalk for us to be able to purchase it. Reason I've asked the second chief and the speaker to join me this afternoon is it was a united effort to be able to do what we're doing at Creek Nation. I think when we look at the quick progress, the tremendous positive things that we've done in a short time, it's because of the fact that we're able to work together, whether it's from the legislature side or the executive branch, and we're real pleased with that. It's my pleasure to tell you that this year we're very pleased with our headliners as far as our entertainment is concerned for the 38th annual Muskogee Creek Nation Festival. When we were trying to think of who we could bring together to provide the entertainment, there's a lot of different names that came out. But we felt like we wanted to bring groups in that we know that people could relate to. On Friday night, we're real pleased that we're going to be able to bring a country music award-winning group to Okmulgee to our festival, and later on we'll be letting you know what that group is because of contract obligations. We will not be able to make that announcement today, but you will be getting that information as we go along. On Saturday night, which is our blues night, we're very pleased this year that by popular demand for return engagement at 7 o'clock we'll have the Temptations as part of our entertainment. Immediately following that, we'll be giving a car away in between that concert and the next concert, that tribal members can come and they can get a ticket to win a free car. And right after that drawing is held At 9 o'clock, we're very pleased to announce that Gladys Knight will be joining us this year as one of our headliners at the Creek Nation Festival. The festival encompasses a lot of different activities. Actually, it starts 2 weeks prior to the actual day of the festival, different events, from Miss Muskogee Nation pageant to Junior Olympics to softball tournaments. It all accumulates into a 2-week period of time when our tribal members can come and enjoy themselves. We're very glad that many times when we ask for the support of the local communities, we've received it. And we want to thank our gaming facilities who have been a big part of supporting our festival year in and year out. We're also pleased that in the past that the National Council has been able to allocate some monies for these types of events, especially our festival. But I can say this year that the festival is going to be more or less self-supported, and we're really pleased with that. Again, we're very excited about our plans for the upcoming festival, as well as some of the things we want to do here. We thank you again for being here. If there's no other questions, thank you very much.
And I guess that's going to about wrap us up here, Jason, here for another program here, Native News Today, our 308th episode here that we proudly bring you here this afternoon. And our thanks to everyone that was involved with all the stories here this afternoon to let you know a little bit that's happening out there in Indian country in our own backyard, as we like to say. And Jason, just so many things happening out there, and we just appreciate all the information that you send us in covering the different stories.
We absolutely do. A lot of the times that we get to come out to stories, it's because of folks calling us up or finding us on Facebook or Twitter and mentioning, we got this really great group, we got this really great event coming up, and to come on out, and certainly that's not lost on us, and we like to spread that news, and even stuff that doesn't really make a story. For instance, tonight there in Wetumpka at the high school auditorium, they're having a big event. It's a after school bash is what they're calling it. There's going to be live bands. There's going to be prizes given away. Speakers going to come in and do some talking to the youth. Really want a lot of youth out for this, and I believe it starts at 6, 7 around that time at Wetumpka High School Auditorium there. So
that's right. The month of May, certainly a time for graduations, end of school, and everything. And Jason, I'll just say this much here, that this weekend marks I won't say the anniversary, but I walked across the stage and got my high school diploma so many years ago, but we'll just keep it at that.
We didn't know that you had a high school diploma. That's shocking news.
That is the other thing too. As shocking as that is, let's just say that Reaganomics was going along at that time.
Don't get me started. All right, Gerald. Well, hey, you guys know out there, if you're not watching us on Saturday on the TV, catch us on the internet, www.muskogeenation-nsn.gov. Check out our live stream or our story archives there. Click on the logo. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure what we're doing during the week, get the behind-the-scenes look that you can only get on your social media Native news sites. Gerald, take us out of here.
For our producer, Jared Moore, in the meantime, you all take care. God bless.
And we'll see you soon. Let's try the last week. We try the last week.
Oh, well, sometimes that's what
That's amazing to me, though, that we didn't, that we somehow came up with 2 minutes, 50 seconds. That was so weird. It's like, yeah, it's like,